You good? You rolling? Okay.
G-double-O-D. Believe that spells out good. Can't beat tea and smoke on a Friday morning.
Nope.
In sunny Carmel, where it just got done raining a nice good week, and it's so just fresh and vibrant and saturated. It's nice.
Fresh air.
Fresh air.
Fresh life. Welcome everybody to another episode of Rejuvelation. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I would love to. My name is Jason Gandzjuk, and I work as a holistic health practitioner, specializing in high performance kinesiology, corrective exercise, spiritual, professional, and personal development.
Perfect. And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for about a good 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I have a third grade education.
Really? Truly?
Truly. Yeah. They were teaching me what to think, not how to think. And I picked up on that quite quickly. Had an interesting childhood. Mom passed away when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, got involved in motocross, and that was pretty much my direct focus. That's where I was giving all my attention. So transitioning from stopping school, I don't want to say dropping out. If anything, I actually started school when I stopped actually going to what people believe school is, because life is school.
Absolutely.
And you're the teacher. Challenges allow you to advance and graduate to another grade. You know, and a lot of people right now are still in first grade. They're not listening to the pain teacher. And the pain teacher is just going to continue to hold them back from advancing and growing.
Now explain this pain teacher. You're saying pain, right?
Pain.
Okay.
Yeah. Looking at pain as a teacher, the pain teacher will come in anytime you're not listening to the four doctors. We can go into the four
Please
doctors.
do.
Yeah, we got Dr. Diet, Quiet, Happiness, and Movement. So those are really the last four doctors you'll ever need.
The first and the last.
The first and the last, exactly. And there's a lot more to it than just that. The science and the alchemy behind the doctors and how it correlates to specific elements, chakras, archetypes, different seasons, flavors, scents, sight, organs, glands. It's fascinating being able to correlate that all. For example, if one has, an imbalance in the earth element, that's associated with Dr. Diet. First chakra, root chakra. They're running out of material to keep the fire going. Fire element related to Dr. Movement. So when you're not listening to those four doctors, have it just be Dr. Diet, which is very common. The metaphor I like using is picture the chair as the four doctors. Each leg is a doctor. Now, to the degree one of the doctors is out of balance, one of the legs are going to fall off. And that's when disease starts happening. That's when illness starts happening.
Because even if the leg is only half missing, it'll be tilted, and that'll further tweak you out. Have you ever sat in a position that's like off kilter for long enough and you feel a tweak in your spine?
Yeah.
The leg doesn't even have to be missing, it could just be out of balance.
And what do you have? You got a lot of people with structural issues. And that's because their chair is completely out of balance. Or another metaphor is a bicycle wheel. To the degree one of the spokes gets out of true, it will throw the whole wheel out of balance to well be just wobbling. So when one of the doctors, or all of them, for example, is not being, fully given attention to, where you're listening to what the doctors are communicating and trying to guide you to doing, that's when the pain teacher comes in. An example I can give you is with Dr. Movement. A lot of people feel this need to work out. Working out is expending energy. Now, a lot of people don't have the energy on board to work out, so they're creating a deficit, a debt. And it's really common in women who especially are going through premenopause or perimenopause, and they're starting to see that they're putting on weight. Well, that's just how the body naturally starts transitioning into that phase in their life. But they still feel a need that they need to maintain that image. The I, the image is what gets hurt, which creates conflict and fear in people. But getting back to the point here, is they'll consistently work out when they need to be learning how to balance working in in working out. Working in is where you're doing activities and movements that require less energy from you. Then you're expending out to where you're cultivating energy.
Like Qigong or something like
Qigong, Tai Chi. Now, a lot of people aren't familiar with what Tai Chi, Qigong is, but it's really an energy purging, tonifying, cultivation, rejuvenation, movement-based practice. If it's really done wholeheartedly, it can heal anything. And it's your body's intelligence. Qigong is a way of programming your body's intelligence to do what it needs to do, when it needs to do it. So going back to the pain teacher, not listening to Dr. Movement and continuing to work out, burn your water element out to completely disrupt the air channel and the water channel and the earth channel, because there's so much fire in you, inflammation, you're going to exhaust your adrenals out, which is associated with the water element, which is associated with actually all the chakras, the adrenals are. So now you're going to go into adrenal exhaustion, adrenal burnout, which is going to start compromising your immune system, your metabolism even more so. And then you start having low energy, fatigue, etc. So you work out more, you give yourself more stimulants, coffee, sugar, chocolate, carbohydrates, etc. The list goes on and on and on. Because you're not listening to the pain teacher, you're masking it with those stimulants, you're masking it with exercising, etc. Well, it's only going to be a matter of time that you can't get out of bed in the morning. That's when the pain teacher finally comes in and says, no, you listen now, and I'm going to force you to. All the symptoms, exactly. You know, one of the questionnaires I have all my clients fill out, it's a health appraisal questionnaire. It's a very comprehensive questionnaire. It's low, it ranks all the questions and all the markers, and it tallies up a final score, the total stress score. You got low priority, medium, moderate priority, high priority, green, yellow, red. When a client is displayed in the red, high priority, they're going close to death. Their body is going towards brownout. Burnout, brownout. Brownout is when grass can't grow, that's completely dead and burnt. And that's what ends up happening. You completely exhaust your system to the point where it will shut down. Because it's only a matter of time where the body just can no longer withstand the abuse you're putting it through. And that's the pain teacher. And it's there to teach you, guide you, direct you, so you can grow and experience your dream. We all have a dream. It's like once we get past being a child, being a little kid, we forget about what it is to have a dream. We always have dreams when we're young. Have it be, we want to be a firefighter, we want to be a coach, an Olympian athlete, cyclist, motocross racer, etc. And then we just lose touch of it. And we've all experienced enlightenment. It's like this thing that's so special to be enlightened in this time we're living life in right now. To be enlightened, you're a guru and you're someone special. Everyone is special. It's not to start categorizing people and, oh, they're only at that level and this guy's at another level. We're just all experiencing time differently. We're all at different points in our journey, etc. But pretty much in men, we're enlightened until around age 4 or 5. And then once the ego starts getting developed from the programming, conditioning, being around our parents, school, etc., then we lose touch of that enlightenment. In females, it's around age 6, 7. It comes a little later.
And society beats us out of it. They don't
Completely.
want us to be in that mode at all. Like you were saying, they want to teach us what to think, not how to think. And when you're a child, it's all creativity, it's all the imagination, it's unlimited potential. But society wants to beat that out of us so they can mold us into what they need to sustain the illusion.
You know what's fascinating? Let's use religion for an example. Because it's the root of everything. And it's overlooked. And this is, when someone has back pain, really, it's very common for it to be coming from their image of God, which has given them the back pain. It's the accumulation of the trauma that they have held on to, the accumulation of their trauma, etc., based off their image of God, which creates their perspective and reality on life. image of God is based off the Imago Dei. Are you familiar with the Imago Dei?
No.
Imago Dei, to summarize it and put it in kind of the language of English where people can understand, the Imago Dei is our image is what bases all of our images. Our image of God, which is based off the Imago Dei, so our image of God is what creates all of our imaging, all of our images. Depending on what religion, philosophy, guru, etc. we're following, how our psyche registers that and imprints that information and energetically. Now we're going to be gravitated towards certain memes and other forms of programming and conditioning. That's how things are wired, like in this matrix, if you want to look at it that way. So, as an example, say I am a Christian. From my programming of being a Christian, I'm going to be centered towards picking up on certain memes, images, beliefs, myths. And all what that does is create a whole illusion around really what doesn't even exist. And we get caught in this time realm, very, very limited. We completely lose touch of our own intelligence, and we're relying on the intelligence of computers and technology, which is not so smart to a point to where it's created people to be dumb and stupid because we don't know how to think for ourselves. We don't know how to take responsibility for any of the actions we're making in life. They're not
Quite
right
the
actions.
opposite. They're meant to gear, they decide your output and input all at once.
Completely.
And so what you're saying, this Imago Dei,
Imago Dei,
so the image of God, the reason that it's so powerful is because that's like the starting point. God is the be-all, end-all, so your image of that thing, that idea, is your root source code. And from there, everything else springs. And that's why religion is so important in how you see the world, however that is.
Yeah. And religion's a beautiful thing. Because life is religion. You know, we're able to be in church every day with the sanctuary we create around ourselves and with inside of ourselves. Our body is a temple, correlated to Dr. Diet. Even each doctor has a song, and I'll quickly sing the Dr. Diet song. Dr. Diet builds a temple, a body for your mind. Dr. Diet builds a temple, a body for your mind. We raise and eat our food with love, it makes our chemistry. We raise and eat our food with love, it makes our chemistry. You add good water and a smile, be filled with energy. You add good water and a smile, be filled with energy. Eat good organics and be wise. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. Yum, yum. It goes even more into detail with that. You are what you eat. Everything we're putting into us is information. Everything.
I saw your video about organics, and like it's a blueprint. You're eating the blueprint that you want to create in yourself.
Completely. Completely. And it's not that, see, we've had to put a word, organics, in front of it to have it stand out from the processed non-foods, which isn't even food, it's just garbage.
Food-like substances.
To where now we have to say there's organic food, but really it's just food.
Right?
Instead of, it's all organic, it's just food, but you have to say organic to separate it from something else, because if you say just food, you're going to think it's going to be commercially, made and processed, etc. But that information we're putting into us, from plants, the soil, the animals, etc., you're just imprinting that information into you, and that's what your mind is going to be getting created out of. Every second, our body has 30 billion chemical reactions. Every second, our body's having 30 billion chemical reactions. I wouldn't even be able to tell you how many chemical reactions my body's having in just a few short minutes. All of which are temperature and water sensitive. So if you're putting in information that's false for you, sick information, information that's going to create mental disorders, depression, anxiety, etc., dehydration, that's going to completely disrupt the water channel, the air channel, further disrupting other channels, etc. But the point I'm getting at is if you're having 30 billion chemical reactions per second, which are water and air sensitive, and you're disrupting that harmonious cycle and how things feed off each other, that's when the body's going to start going downhill. And you're going to have a variety of pain teachers, more than just one.
What's the threshold? I hear like the magic number is 30%. Like once your liver or whatever gets to 30% capacity, you're basically doomed. I mean, unless
That's a great question. I've never actually been asked that.
Are you joking?
I haven't.
Okay.
No. It's specific on the individual. It is. To say it's 30%, yeah, the majority of people, yeah. But there are also a lot of people that have a higher threshold from, prenatal, to postnatal. It just depends, during conception. How much trauma both their parents were in prior to being pregnant, while being pregnant, etc. That completely is what our psyche is also being programmed and created off of as well, from the trauma. So depending on that, as an example, my mom was very ill still, chronically, and very compromised when she was pregnant with me, which is why I've experienced a lot of chronic, serious, life-threatening health issues in my life, because it's weakened myself from that. Nothing I can do about it. It's been a challenging and beautiful gift. Big pain teacher for me. So myself, it can even be on a lower percentage range, because that's just genetics for me.
So I've heard this before. It's where your traumas and the energy surrounding your birth and pre-birth activate certain genes. So the codes are there, and the variants that are within your genetic code obviously depend on your lineage and all that. But there's so many things that are activated based on your trauma, and these are coping mechanisms. There are abilities within the genes that help you or don't help you based on the situation surrounding your birth. Have you done much looking into that?
I have, yeah. There's this phenomenal book called The Gene Code.
Okay.
Have you?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it is incredible. I work a lot with plant medicine, especially 5-MeO-DMT. That's been a really great tool for me in my healing journey. I've learned how to use it intelligently.
Me too. That's been one of the biggest things.
I have uncovered so many correlations behind the gene code with 5-MeO-DMT. Fascinating, but without getting into that, because that'd take hours.
Maybe next time.
Next time for sure. So, with trauma, correlated to the chakras, which is important to understand that from age 0 to 7, we're going through the development stage of the root chakra, 7 to 14 second chakra, 14 to 21 third chakra, and so on, up to the throat.
What do you mean by that?
We're going through the development stage to where we're learning how to master those aspects of that chakra.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Safety, security.
Between 1 and 7, that's the root chakra?
Yes.
The ages, okay.
So we're going through the development stage of that. So that's our lesson in that stage in life. So 0 to 7, the lesson throughout those 7 years is to learn to have a home, feel safe, have security, financial security, support, etc. To the degree you don't feel that, it's creating trauma, and it's going to impact that root chakra as you progress up to the other chakras. All the chakras mirror each other though. So if there's a root chakra issue in one person, it can manifest up all the chakras.
Of course, because it's like a code. If anywhere in the beginning of the code there's a problem, it transfers up, even multiplying as it goes up, because it's spreading into more systems.
Completely. So whatever trauma you go through from age 0 to 7, root chakra, that trauma is going to imprint into your organs, glands, muscles, tissues, ligaments. Your whole system is going to get imprinted with that trauma in that region, which will show up as in a lot of lower extremity issues that sometimes can just come on without having there be any injury. Idiopathic. Idiopathic means when the client doesn't know how the pain got there. Back pain is very common to be idiopathic. Back pain will just come on, and you ask how it happened, they don't know. It's like I just woke up out of bed one morning and my back started hurting. Idiopathic. Well, that goes deeper because it's probably coming from an inverted breathing pattern. You have the Paul Chek totem pole behind me. Breathing is the second highest system on the totem pole.
The first being eagle?
First being the eagle represents psyche, which is a Greek word for soul. So of course, we can make the decision to kill ourselves, which stops breathing. So the psyche is above breathing, and then you have breathing, the respiratory system. On average, we breathe 25,900 times a day. 25,900 times a day, and we're having 30 billion chemical reactions per second, which are water and air sensitive. And we're feeding ourselves with shit food, non-foods, poison, chemicals. And we're walking around wondering why we have this condition, these symptoms going on in our body. So we'll go to these doctors that charge a high price just so they can drive around in a Mercedes and Beamer, and all what they're doing is literally flicking the dog's tail. They're not even getting close to the root of it.
No, that's not their job.
And a lot of them are clueless, and some of them do know, but they don't care.
Yeah, a patient lost is, what is it? No, a patient cured is a client lost or a consumer lost. It's like they have no interest in curing because that means you won't come back.
No. And that's been a transition in my work. And I would say I've graduated from going from fixing my clients, because I have the skills with what I've learned, etc., to where I can fix clients on the spot. Like if they come to me with back pain, I can fix them on the spot, or at least get them out of pain quite a bit. But I've learned to back off from that and let it be a teacher for them, and teach them the tools they can do on their own to heal and fix it.
Yeah,
unless they won't do the work, they won't make the change they need to make.
You'll be their pill.
I'll be their pill, and then when they're done coaching with me, the pain will come right back.
Right.
Did I do my job? No.
No, you didn't.
All I did is take their money and worked. I was their pill. You're very, very well said. I was a mask for their symptoms. And you can be the best manual therapist in the world, but if you don't focus on diet, quiet, happiness, and movement, you just focus on movement, there's going to be no success.
You have to have the tapestry.
Yeah.
All four doctors. Now tell us about the Walchek Institute. This is where you were taught the philosophy that you enjoy.
Yeah. The Paul Chek Institute, or the Chek Institute, excuse me, is founded by Paul Chek himself. He was able to, with a great support system and dream team, put all of his knowledge / wisdom. Knowledge is just accumulation of past, ideas and beliefs, etc. But wisdom's applying it in the present, in the moment. That's wisdom. So he's got wisdom, but he's been able to integrate it together into a system, which is the 4 doctors and the 1, 2, 3, 4 approach. 1, what is your dream? 2, there's only 2 life forces that are created in the universe, yin and yang. So there's either a yin imbalance or yang imbalance. And it's interesting, in China, they don't categorize things like SIBO, fungal and parasite issue, etc. It's either a yang deficiency or a yin deficiency.
Boils it down really
simple. Very simple. So there's only 2 life forces that are created in the universe, yin or yang. Where's the person out of balance? Are they yang or are they yin? Over sympathetic or over parasympathetic, etc. 3, there's only 3 choices when it comes to making any decision in life. First, optimal. The optimal choice is the choice that's best for you and your dream and your support team, your dream team. So it's the optimal choice for everyone. The circumstances aren't going to have an impact in negative ways for people. That's an optimal choice. Suboptimal is if I would make a choice for myself that would only benefit me and hurt other people around me from the consequences. An example quickly, me moving. That can only be a choice best for me, but it can really impact my family and my friends that I've been able to cultivate where I live, and I'm moving now. Suboptimal choice. Or suboptimal choice is making a choice that hurts you and your dream team.
That's even less optimal.
Here's the choice right here, suboptimal. Knowing I have to be gluten-free, knowing I have to be dairy-free or eat no nuts, no seeds, and I eat nuts and seeds and it makes me grumpy and irritable, suboptimal choice. I'm impacting everyone. So when people are putting processed food in their mouth, they're not just hurting themselves, they're hurting everyone.
I know this very well. I have a few friends who they gorge themselves on food-like substances, tons of gluten, meat, and their anger and their frustration pours over out of them like a volcano. And, you know, somehow they get the idea that they're not hurting people around them, or that they're, you know, it's just their pain, they can deal with it, you know, and it hurts me very much, because, you know, if you're in a room with somebody that's raging and you care about them, and, you know, there's nothing that you can do, or they won't listen to you, it's like, it's dealing with a drug addict, and there's no easy way out of it, and it's very disturbing. So I understand that very much, and I really support this 4-doctor practice, because it is such a quick way to override these problems, to see beyond them.
Yeah.
So tell us about the 4th one.
Third one.
Oh, I thought you already did.
Optimal, suboptimal.
Okay.
And then the third one is to do nothing, to be apathetic. There's 2 sides of that one. So the first side is to do nothing, to be apathetic, to not make a choice. But to not make a choice is still making a choice.
It is.
You decide not to make your car payment. Not making a choice to do that is still making a choice, and you're going to get your car taken away, or you're going to have a pretty good penalty, etc. The other side of that, say again an argument or a heated discussion, a disagreement with my partner, and I get worked up because my image, which I don't want to get into right now, but my image is getting hurt. My ego, my I is hurt. So I'm frustrated and angry, as an example. I make a decision to take a time out and say I need a day to myself, or I need the evening to myself, or I need a week, etc. I need time to myself to where I can gather the resources I need to go out in nature, do some Qigong. I need to go do some drumming, some rattling, walk in nature, just whatever I need to do for myself, to where I can calm myself down, to where I can have all my systems balanced, to where I can actually be thinking with my heart and my soul, not my ego, which is going to have a lot of consequences if I get frustrated and get angry and say things I regret later. So it's very important that when you're in a situation like that, to be honest and take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility for the power of your mind, which is God. So take responsibility for God, you, and say I need a timeout. How much easier it is. It doesn't cause any excess stress. You have your time, she has her time, and now you can come back and make a decision that's going to be optimal for both parties. And that is a relationship to where there's no ego involved, because if there are egos involved in a relationship, all what it is a conflict, and that's very, very common. So for there to be relationship, there needs to be relating, and when egos are involved, there is no relating, it's always a competition.
It's just hammers striking each other.
That's what it is. Who can outperform each other? And sometimes it doesn't show up as in it being very noticeable, but it's still there subconsciously to a certain degree. It is. And how it can be displayed. Say I'm walking down in downtown Carmel, the sidewalk with my partner, and there is a beautiful brunette walking towards us. And yeah, the nature of men and women is to look at other people that are good looking, that are attractive. It ignites us. And I am looking at her, and she gets jealous. Competition. So see, it still shows up. It may not show up as in a way where it's a competition like that. It shows up as in jealousy, but jealousy is a competition.
And even if you ignore it, you force yourself not to look at this beautiful woman or beautiful man, that creates a negative polarity, or it draws away from you. And you want to do that, and there's nothing wrong with looking. But if somebody can't even handle that, that's a real sign that there's a problem within them, that an insecurity that needs to be constantly allayed.
Yeah. You suppress that, it will completely disrupt and knock down your sex life. Getting in sex is very important. It's the alchemy behind sex is fascinating, and studying it, you learn so much about yourself and other ways you communicate with other people. But the point being is there's 9 different stages, levels to an orgasm in women. In men it's different, but there still are different stages in men. But speaking about women, there's 9 stages to an orgasm. To the degree there is jealousy, competition, and fear there, you won't be able to get yourself out of probably stage 2 or 3 with the order it goes in, because it starts down at the kidneys. So the first thing to go will be adrenals, which will affect you from actually having an orgasm. So we don't even know what an orgasm is. The point being is when you actually do have a real orgasm, that can be an experience to where you can see God and be completely egoless completely. So there's so many ways to be in tuned with everything, and sex is a very, very incredible tool, which relationship is based out of this tool of sex. Without that tool, sex, there isn't a tool that will help unlock this code. The code being sex, that unlocks that code, it ignites, and it creates this oneness between the couple. And being able to have that oneness when you're making love and being intimate, that relationship right there is the most powerful thing really in the world. And that's what we're here to learn and do. You can't know God without relationship.
Right.
That's why relationship is very hard for people. All what it's doing is bringing them to see God in the areas they're not seeing God in. Brings you closer to see God. And a lot of people turn around. Why? There's really no other way to say it, but really it's the devil. It is. You know.
I was just thinking that, like, the devil believes himself to be God, and is jealous and angry that there's this force controlling him, and the only relationship he has is how he can manipulate others. And I don't see the devil as having a true relationship with himself itself. It's this force, this denial of what is, and claiming that itself is what is. You know, like, I will decide. The ego is, to me, the ultimate personification of the devil incarnate. It's all about me and what I want, what I can do. And there are other people are just pawns in my game.
Yeah, very accurate. You know, the I, the ego, is what creates all conflict in life. Conflict is time. The byproduct of time is conflict. Time is conflict. Time is past, accumulation of the past, memories, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Separation, division. So now there's this thing called time, division, conflict, which now we create an image because there's separation. And anytime there's separation, there's an image which creates the separation. So the separation is our soul and our ego, our mind, our I. So we have this image of the ego, our I. And a lot of people say they love themselves, but they love their ego. They love I. They love what they see in the mirror. But what you see in the mirror is not you. It's your image of you that you've created.
Yes.
Off of past, accumulation of the past. That's what your image is created off of. So any situation that happens in life that trespasses certain things about your image, trespasses certain needs that you feel like you need because of this image, this character that you're acting out, this role, etc., you're going to get hurt. But it's your image that's getting hurt. And then you try to solve it. You create a problem out of trying to solve it without giving it full attention and actually addressing it right then and there instead of suppressing it because we're trying to find an answer for it. There's no answer. The answer is no answer. The answer is in it from just being in it. That's the answer, just to be in it.
Yeah, there's a soul sickness in society. It has been for a very long time. People worship money, and money itself, man, I, the one I, meaning God. It says, in God we trust, on this thing called money. And you are worshiping money as your God. So this store for value, this illusory piece of paper that somehow is your approximation of all value. You know, there's wars and murder and all the most terrible things are generated from this thing that people say is your value system.
Yeah.
And so I think even putting money aside, people value that which is not. You know, they value the image, this idea of something. And in relationships specifically, for myself as well, I hold these images of the ideal version of someone or an ideal situation, and it just isn't so. It may be in my mind for short minutes, but the reality of it not being so eats away at you, and more time goes on, and the problems that we have addressing the core deficiencies within us and just being able to analyze and see it for what it is what really perpetuates these problems, not just between us and our partner, but between everyone that is around us.
Yeah.
Like we were saying with the diet, you know, what you're putting in your body is the code. So if you're eating all these food-like substances that are extremely deficient in vitamins and everything that you need in your body, not only that, if you're eating meat, the vast majority of which, organic or not, has been extremely tortured, and all these energies go into it. And when it eats, it has this pain reflux and this fear reflux, and then that incorporates into what it eats, and there's no love in it, and it's basically a being of fear and torture, and you're eating that over and over and over again. And so many people that I see, with the exception of a few, such as Phil, who eats meat constantly, you know, there's so much anger and resentment and frustration and just the inability to relax without stimulants or supplements. And so with that, I'd like to get into the fourth aspect.
Yeah, I was just actually going to get back to that. So the fourth aspect is the 4 doctors. So 1, love; 2, forces; 3, choices; 4 doctors. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 4 system in the Czech Institute that's taught in integrated movement. Integrated movement is high performance kinesiology based corrective exercise, etc. So there's different levels of practitioner in integrated movement. Then you got holistic lifestyle coaching. Point being is in both aspects, both disciplines of holistic lifestyle coaching and integrated movement, the 1, 2, 3, 4 system approach is incorporated and integrated into that, because it has to be, since a lot of physical pain is correlated to emotional pain, so the two go hand in hand. So if they're not both properly integrated and incorporated together, you're missing several pieces of the puzzle. So Paul's someone who's put together a puzzle that fits and works.
Right.
Money back guarantee, if it's followed.
If it's followed. That's the key.
And done properly.
Yeah.
And in order to do what you're taught properly, doesn't mean just doing it to other people properly. It means doing it to yourself first, so you can actually do it from wisdom, not knowledge, but from wisdom. That's when you can do it properly. And when you do it that way, that's when it returns a money back guarantee, because it works.
Right.
It works.
And once you see that it works, once you understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, that's the wisdom.
Yeah.
And having the will to benefit yourself. You know, it's like, do you really want to put pennies in your own bank continuously, which turn into dollars and to large amounts of returns for you in your own investment with your life? Or do you want to invest in something that is taking away? You're investing in something that is actually negating your health, negating your well-being, negating the well-being of people around you. So drink heinous amounts of coffee, sugar, processed sugars, alcohol, stuff like this. These are all things that take away from your bank account, and they don't come back easily. To turn that ship around, it's like the Titanic, you know.
Yeah.
You to really get out of the way of that iceberg, it's all hands on deck. Everyone has to be on it, and they have to see it for what it is well before you get there.
Yeah.
Because the tragedy, although only slightly averted, sunk that ship, and that's the sad story for most people. Is they won't be willing to change until they're already on death's door. And for most people, the first thing that they do is they go to the societally sanctioned chemotherapy, all these radionic poisons and stuff like that, and for the most part, it's using nuclear weapons to heal your body.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that people have so much faith in that because that's all they know, and they've been made to fear any other holistic approach, any other approach. That's all nonsense. That's boogaloo. Nobody believes in that. Only fools believe in that, you know. And it's sad, but I do see a resurgence and a greater belief, and especially since the incorporation of ayahuasca into people's consciousness, into the public dialogue and the sphere, and 5-MeO, DMT, and all these things, which, when done correctly, just, oh, you had an ego? No longer, you know, and then from there it's like waking up from a dream of a life that wasn't yours.
Yeah.
You know, you're just dropping your shell, coming out to your primary essence, and you're like, huh, no opinions, just you see it for what it is.
Yeah.
And once that happens, there's going to be a long process of shadow work, because you're going to have to deal with, you're going to have to come to terms with who you've been for all your life.
Yeah. It's fun. Actually, it's interesting you mentioned the shadow, because the shadow is actually part of your spirit body, and it's something you can learn so much from when you actually study it. I've done some ancient Taoist shadow meditations where I wake up in the morning right when the sun's coming up and being able to catch my shadow, and I meditate on my shadow for about 20 minutes. And you're able to actually bring in so much white, light, gold energy, a very powerful, subtle energy from your shadow. So there are very interesting aspects of our shadow that are actually quite beautiful. All of our meridians, all of our organs, all of our glands, all have shadow aspects to them, which is quite fascinating. So our organs respond very similar to how our psyche responds from suppressed, etc., emotions, trauma, which gets buried down and creates our shadow self. There's also shadow elements and components to our whole internal visceral system, etc.
And would those be yin and yang, or is that whole
Certain
dynamic?
organs are yin, certain organs are yang.
But I mean, the shadow aspect of it, where does that fall in?
The shadow aspect would fall into the category of being yang.
Okay.
Yes. Expansive.
Right. It's really interesting what you said about following your shadow in the beginning light of the day, you know, because for there to be a shadow, the light has to be hitting you. And then that light is both adding information and copying the information from you and then projecting it behind you. And then your shadow is like both the absence and the incorporation of that spectral twist. If you imagine like a plume of smoke coming around you and then going behind you, you know, it's added to you and it's also taking parts of you away. So you're looking at this shadow, and you're feeding off that. You're addressing it, you're seeing it, and so like not only is it hitting you, but you're concentrating and you're addressing it and looking at it and saying, okay, how do we relate? What is it? What am I about? What have I been about? Where do I want to go? Where do we want to go? You and me, shadow. And it's like, I think the biggest problem for many people is that they don't want to even think about it. They cannot think about who they really are, or the parts of them that they don't like.
Yeah.
And then they push that away at all costs. And I think the easiest, simplest way to really address your shadow is to look at yourself in the mirror, naked. Just get naked, sit in front of a mirror for as long as you can, and just look at yourself and say, what have I done wrong?
Yeah.
And just focus on that for that as long as you can, and see how your day progresses from there. See how differently you treat yourself, you treat others. When you turn, you know, because the blame game is always about everyone else. The world is the way it is because of everyone else. It has nothing to do with me. That's a very commonly held belief, but how true is it? Are you saying you hold no? You know, it's like, I love to give out these biblical sayings because they're so powerful. And if you can just divorce yourself from all the negativity surrounding religion, you know, because they all have huge sparks of knowledge and wisdom, but let them without sin cast the first stone, you know, and that's so powerful. Are you truly free of any wrongdoing? Can you really say that this person, you know, is very bad and that you've never done that, you've never thought that way? It's like, before you cast judgment, can you really see what you've done in your own life and how that's affected others?
Yeah. Also, in China, before working with their patients, and then in also other instances, if you're wanting to get into doing martial arts and Qigong training, Tai Chi, etc., the teacher would first assess your shadow before working with you, because they can learn about you from just your shadow. They'd be able to see if you're right for this or not from your shadow. So your shadow is a very incredible aspect of us. It being suppressed is suppressing the love for us, you know. And yeah, when people don't love certain parts of themselves or they deny it, it's because it doesn't match their image, you know. So the image is where it's all at.
It is, and I love that. I think about it every time you said it. The I, and then mage. You know, you're a sorcerer of illusions, and your ego is a mad scientist, a mad sorcerer who wants to control reality and doesn't want to be a part of it. Doesn't want to be in line, in tune. It wants to manipulate, and it wants its version of things to be true. So you think of it like Jafar from Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he wants to mold the world in his image. He wants to master it all, and I mean, he knows. You can see it that he knows that what he's doing is wrong a lot of times, but he doesn't care. And you can see him have these conversations with himself, and like, yes, I'll have more power. And you know, it's just like this total illusion that people allow themselves because they need to, because they've never been taught how to live in balance with both sides of themselves.
Yeah.
So I'd like to shift the conversation over to today. Obviously, we live in a very unique time, and for the last year now, the world has been in these forced isolations, and it seems like every day is getting crazier and crazier, and people are being convinced that staying inside and wearing masks constantly and not exercising, not being able to exercise, or only being able to exercise in very limited times and in areas is somehow good for their health and necessary for the world's health. Where do you stand on taking responsibility for the world's health or for your own health, and what people can do that would best help them be healthy and strong in a time of so much stress and uncertainty and division?
Yeah. Well, it's easy to say that this is just bringing up everyone's fear in life. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So people are acting out of fear-based mode. Everything is being taking action out of fear, which is false evidence appearing real. So it's wrong action with consequences that are detrimental for themselves and everybody else, the whole world, the collective, etc. There's two spectrums, there's two sides of this. There's the side that is acting out of fear, scared shitless, wearing gloves and masks, driving their car and at home and at the grocery store, etc. And then you have the other side of the spectrum that is very angry, which still has a lot of consequences to your health, getting angry and upset, because that raises cortisol, adrenaline, suppresses immune system, causes you to be sympathetically activated, which is now bringing you to left brain. Left brain shuts off new ways of thinking, being creative. This is a time for us to be right brain, to where we can actually make a difference in the world from sharing our love and our gift that we have to share with people. So this is a time when I need to step into being a coach, sharing my wisdom, what I've learned to keep myself healthy with the world. That's what we need to be in. That's being in the middle, is taking this as an opportunity for the people who are healthy to teach the people who aren't on the simplicity on what it takes to be healthy. And how can people change? Simple. Pick one thing that you know you need to do that will actually be beneficial for you, and stick to just that one thing. Have that be drinking 16 ounces of water right when you wake up in the morning.
That would make a huge difference.
Just that, because that tiny little change will lead to another change and so on. I look at change metaphorically as in putting a bucket underneath a leak that's just dripping, slow drips, boom, 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 putting a bucket underneath. Each drop is a change. Now, you go back 20 minutes later and the bucket's still completely empty, but you come back in a couple days, the bucket will be full. That one drop consistently, in consistency with change, makes a big difference and a big impact. And right there, that little change of just drinking 16 ounces of water in the morning, etc., or just going for a 15-minute walk in nature and grounding yourself on the beach so you can get some barefoot so you can get some actually H3O. H3O is the only thing you can get from the ocean. It
Really?
has tremendous healing properties.
Where do you stand on walking barefoot on like concrete? Does that do the same thing? Is that not that?
I walk barefoot everywhere.
Okay.
That I can. I go in grocery stores until I get kicked out. I just like being barefoot. Walking on the concrete is not the same as being on the beach, the sand, etc. That helps a lot with our acupressure and acupuncture points, the meridians too. Love the sand. And it really grounds them and also releases the shadow aspects of our meridians and our glands when we're on the ocean, the sand. H3O gets in there and cleanses the shadow aspects of our internal system. H3O is the chi, the dew, the mist you're getting from the ocean.
Okay.
It's the cocktail formula that is created from H2O, which converts into H3O, but you're only getting that off of the ocean when you're.
Is that because of the salt content, or?
The salt content, yes, and just the way the elements are mixed in there.
Excellent. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This time is a time for you to really realize your fears and then try to change them if you can. And unfortunately, there's people who are wearing the mask, wearing the face shield, wearing the gloves constantly, even when they're in their cars and their homes. And not only are they terrified, they're also extremely angry at anybody that isn't doing exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're resentful. They think that you want to kill them and their family and all the loved ones, and you're the problem with the world. And we're in this hyper-polarized, hyper-politicized environment where great swaths of people are either extremely angry or extremely fearful, or both. And it's just a chemical cocktail of problems that can really just explode in our face, and we're seeing it in little aspects here and there. And I wonder where it will go, but I know that the answer is for people to go within, to truly drop it, drop the world, stop the news, whatever. It doesn't matter what you watch on television. For me, television is a weapon against you, you know? It is never in your benefit to be watching a screen at all times of the day. In little spurts here, and wholesome good stuff here, educational things fine, you know? But the majority of what's on television is telling you a vision. It is giving you a vision of what people need you to believe, need you to think in order to profit from that belief system. And it has been technologically created in order to facilitate this need, this desire. You know, Edward Bernays worked in the 1920s to get women to smoke cigarettes because then that would make them independent. You want to be an independent woman? You smoke a Camel, you smoke a Marlboro, you know? And he works on people's fears, on their angers, on their hopes, to get you to buy into something, to make you participate in a facet of society that will benefit a very small group of people or certain industries. And this is how television is geared. So getting away from television, grounding, going outside in nature is extremely important. Even if you only do it once a week, like you said, a small drop in the bucket just consistently over and over again can change your life, can change other people's lives. And the problem is people think that they need to make these huge overarching decisions and changes in their lives to make a big difference, and they think that that's all they need to do, all they can do. But that it's a mountain, and they won't do it.
Yeah.
And if they do it, they'll do it for a short time, and there'll be a pendulum swinging right back even heavier into the negative lifestyle choices that they were making.
Yeah. And just real quick before we wrap up, about the drop in the bucket and creating the bucket to be full over time makes a big difference. That one drop being change, making that little change, if we can improve and be a better lover by just 1%, that 1% boomerangs out onto everyone. So if I know 20 people, all 20 of the people I know are going to benefit from that 1% that I gain from being able to be a better lover. It's a boomerang that goes out onto everyone who they know, and so on. So just improving yourself by 1%. Say you improve yourself by 1% every day, 100 days. There you go. If you can commit to 100 days of improving yourself by 1%, 100 days, that can make the biggest difference in your life.
A third of a year, not even.
100 days goes by like that.
It does. Your life goes by like that. So what are you gonna make? You're gonna make these 1% choices that can ultimately alter your life and everyone around you, or you can choose not to. Even worse, you're going to do a negative choice. You're going to make choices that give you a negative benefit by 1%, 2%, 3%. I'm going to keep doing these things, and that builds too. And I see people dying younger and younger, but I also see people like you, health practitioners, teachers, guides, who are really giving it their all and deciding, you know what, I'm gonna be the change that I want to see in the world. And until I change myself, I can't really help other people. And more people are making that decision, and I'm happy about it. And I think it's now or never. It's always been now or never.
Yeah.
But I think it truly is like it's now or never. Are you with us, or are you gonna just decide to do nothing?
Yeah. Stay in first grade.
Yeah.
It's got to get old and boring being in first grade for years.
Well, people think that because they have a PhD or their letters in front of their name, or they're educated, and so they know everything that they need to know, and everyone else that doesn't know that is beneath them.
Yeah.
And their learning has finished, and therefore they're dead, and they administrate to the dead. And for them, I've met many doctors who believe themselves to be, they have the demiurge. They believe that they are God's chosen, and like we were talking about earlier, they just sell you the pill, and they drive their new Porsche every year off the lot, and they feel, I made it, I'm worth something, I'm successful. But there's nothing could be farther from the truth. And while I don't know if you know this, but I lived and worked at Esalen for a year, and I met so many executives and corporate people that were just like, I had a midlife crisis. I sold everything. I couldn't handle it anymore. Like, I realized the machine that I was in the belly of the beast, and it's beautiful to see that. It really is, because before that I hadn't had any experience with these corporate people that really turned a new leaf. Because they still hide themselves away in places like Esalen, where they don't mix with the low folk, or they're still getting out of the me and mine mindset, and so they don't mingle too much with the other people. But there I saw great hope in the world, and I saw a change. Have you seen this as well? Have you seen a great change in people?
Yeah, to a certain degree. It's shifting people. It is. I look at it as just an action-packed movie, and I just sit back with my popcorn and relax and enjoy, and see people get worked up and angry and start fighting with each other and doing these riots. It's all silliness. It's allowing people to see the devil in themselves, and the devil that you know is a lot better than the devil you don't know. So that's how I look at it. So yeah, it's shifting people big time. And it's bringing out a lot of people. It's allowing them to open up. And it's brought people to, be more interested in medicine work, which I think is good for the most part.
So do I.
So it is shifting people for sure. And I think it's going to be gradual, quick. I think it will kind of go in waves, just depending on the circumstances that are getting thrown at us.
Cool. So would you like to share any websites or any place where we can reach you, contact you, donate to your cause, or
of course.
something like that?
Yeah, so my website is specializedhealthandexercise.com.
Okay.
My Instagram is specialized_coaching. Also, I'm more than happy to give my email out. My email is jason@specializedhealthandexercisecoaching.com.
All the links will be obviously below the podcast, and I hope everybody enjoys and looks at it and really commits to their health, because it's without that, if you can't commit to yourself, I don't know what you think you're doing. Like, who are you committing yourself to if not yourself? And then someone will say their family or whatever like that, but like we keep saying, we're harping on it. If you're not committed to yourself, you're not helping anyone.
Yeah. Images are connected to themselves.
Yes.
You just got an image gathering.
Photo album.
Look at my image. Oh, my image is better than yours.
I don't have an ego. I've rid myself of it. All right. Now I'm gonna go step in my Lambo.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch my Staying Back Home with the Kardashians.
Oh God.
You can't keep up with them anymore, so now they're going back.
I never kept up.
Because they went so far ahead. People couldn't see their booties anymore. Or I heard one of their butt implants fell out and someone tripped, so they sued one of the Kardashians. So now they're going back.
I don't even want to keep up with it. See, I watched commercials for the first time in
I think
years.
that actually happened though.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I watched commercials for the first time just for 10 minutes in one day, and I was like, "This is religion for people." Like I saw like 15 pharmaceutical commercials, all these other commercials, and like you watch it once, you can dismiss it, but if you see it in repetition over and over again, like, yeah, I want that. Yeah, dude, get me some Xanax, get me whatever, this, like, this, and that. And the news and the Kardashians, like, people think this is reality, but it's not. We have to make the new reality. We have to show people, not even new reality, just show them this is what's really happening. This is what really is. And you're living a life which truly isn't. And all these problems that are manifesting in your life is because you don't believe that there's anything such as truth or love, truly, except for like maybe the Hollywood variant.
Yeah.
And the freedom that you feel is only what someone else says you can have. You know, you don't think you have these rights inherent in your whole being. And I think that what you're doing, what I'm trying to do, is to show people what is instead of denying what is.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts?
A lot, but I'm keep it to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
I look forward to having another one. Part
Yes.
2.
Part 2.
This is the rated G version.
Okay. Just the intro.
Intro. We can go into some deep stuff.
I'm sure we will. Cool.
Just the beginning. We only stayed on this realm, but there are many other realms we can go to.
Yeah. I like having return guests. So I that's the key to build a relationship.
For sure.
So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hopefully it kept recording. I heard a beep. Wasn't sure if it was yours or mine.
That was a speaker.
It was mine. Mine stopped going.